Lyra moved carefully across the jagged terrain, her small feet kicking up fine metallic dust that shimmered faintly under the light of the twin moons. Every step required caution. One wrong movement, one misjudged distance, and she could fall into a crevice or cut herself on sharp metal fragments that littered the ground. The planet was harsh. Cold nights, scorching days, and endless stretches of twisted machinery and broken metal. But Lyra had learned to survive. She could not see. Not with her eyes, anyway. From the moment she was born, her vision had failed. Others would have called it a curse, a weakness, but Lyra had learned to rely on her other senses. Her ears picked up the tiniest vibrations, the faint hum of distant machinery, the scrape of metal against metal. Her fingers were sensitive to textures no one else could feel, and her nose could detect the faintest hint of food or chemical residue. This was how she navigated her world, how she survived when no one came to help. For most of her life, survival had been the only concern. Her meals came from scavenging, scraps of old food left in broken containers, small animals hiding among the debris, or whatever she could repurpose from metallic trash. Lyra had a talent for finding the valuable parts hidden among worthless scraps. A broken energy cell might be dead, but a few tiny circuits could be salvaged and reused. A cracked container might hold enough water to last her another day. She had grown skilled at it, and yet every day felt like a test of endurance. Lyra's shelter was a small, fortified nook she had carved into the side of a metal ridge. It was modest but practical. Old sheets of metal patched together to block the wind, a few shelves made of scrap to hold what little she had, and a soft mat of woven fibers she had salvaged from ruined fabric. She slept there every night, listening to the hum of the planet's distant storms, feeling the vibrations of shifting metal around her, and dreaming of a world she had never truly seen. On this particular day, Lyra had wandered farther than usual. She had followed the sound of clanging metal down a narrow canyon. Her hands brushed against shards of discarded machinery, some rusty, some still pulsing faintly with residual energy. She paused to examine a piece, running her fingers along its surface. There was nothing edible here, no water, no life, but perhaps she could repurpose it. Perhaps it could help her survive. A strange sound made her pause. A low humming, different from the usual background noise of the planet. Lyra's fingers twitched in excitement. She could feel the vibration through the ground. Following it, she discovered a small metallic box partially buried under rubble. The box hummed faintly, a rhythm that her fingers could sense even before her hands touched it. She crouched, using her hands to explore it. Inside, she found objects that confused her. Shiny fragments, strange tools, a small device that buzzed faintly when she touched it. Lyra could not make sense of them. They were not food, not water, not anything she had ever known to survive. Yet she instinctively tucked them into her bag. Perhaps they could serve some purpose later. Perhaps they were useful in ways she could not yet understand. Lyra did not notice the small shadow watching her from the edge of the canyon. Captain Ethan, a human explorer, had landed on the planet earlier that morning. His mission was simple: explore, map, and recover valuable resources. He was trained to notice details others missed, to spot value in what appeared worthless. When he saw Lyra picking up pieces of ancient machinery and tossing them into a worn bag, his interest piqued. He recognized the components immediately: old energy cells, basic sensors, fragments of communication devices. All of them could be used to rebuild functional technology. Ethan watched quietly, noting her movements. She was cautious, precise, and surprisingly strong for someone so small and blind. He admired her resilience. Most humans might have panicked on this world, overwhelmed by the harsh conditions and the endless debris. Lyra, though, moved with confidence. Her hands knew the shapes of danger before her mind could even register it. When she tripped over a jagged piece of metal, Ethan stepped forward without thinking. "Careful," he said gently. His voice echoed slightly in the canyon. Lyra froze. She could not see him. His voice was soft but unexpected. She crouched lower, her hands tightening on her bag. "Who's there?" she asked, her voice wary but curious. "I'm a friend," Ethan replied, keeping his tone calm and non-threatening. "I didn't mean to startle you. You're very skilled at collecting things." Lyra tilted her head, trying to locate the source of the voice. There was something different about him, something that did not feel like danger. "You know this place?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "I've been here a little while. I study what people leave behind, what others ignore. Some of it is Valuable, Lyra frowned. Valuable? She repeated. She gestured vaguely at the items in her bag. These are just scraps, trash, food maybe. Ethan stepped closer, careful not to overwhelm her senses. Not trash. Not food. These can do things you might not even imagine. They can help you survive, yes, but also more than that. Lyra considered this. She had never thought beyond survival. To her, the world was simple. Find food, find water, avoid danger. The idea that discarded machinery could be more than just material for survival was strange. More than survival? She asked. Yes, Ethan said. You can build. You can create. You can improve life here. Lyra's fingers moved instinctively toward the bag, checking her items. She wanted to believe him, but had learned to trust only herself. Why would you help me? She asked. Humans are not here for friendship. You are here for something else, Ethan smiled faintly. Maybe. Maybe I'm here for other reasons. But right now, I want to help you. There was silence between them. The canyon echoed faintly with the sound of distant wind and clanging metal. Lyra considered the human, trying to sense truth in his voice, in the way he moved, in the vibrations he sent through the ground. Finally, she nodded slightly. Show me, she said. Ethan nodded and handed her a small device from his pack. It was simple, a little box with a smooth surface and faintly glowing panels. Touch it, he said. It will show you what these pieces can do. It will make life easier, not just for you, but for others too. Lyra hesitated, then placed her hands on the device. It hummed gently, sending vibrations through her fingers. Slowly, she felt the patterns of the technology, the flow of energy, the potential within each piece of scrap she had collected. Her heart raced. She realized these items were not just trash, they were tools, seeds of possibility, each one capable of helping her do more than survive. For the first time in her life, she imagined a world beyond scavenging, beyond hunger, a world where she could build, create, and help others. The thought was overwhelming. Her chest tightened with emotion she had never known, and a single tear ran down her cheek. She could not see the human, but she could feel his presence, steady and patient, guiding her. Ethan watched quietly, letting her absorb the realization. He could see the change in her posture, the tension in her shoulders easing, the way her fingers moved with newfound purpose over the device. You're stronger than you know, he said softly. And you can do more than you think. Lyra nodded again, more confidently this time. I want to learn, she said. Show me everything. And so their partnership began. Over the next several hours, Ethan taught her how to identify the most useful components in the wasteland, how to test them, how to combine them for new purposes. Lyra listened, touched, experimented, and slowly began to understand. Her world was no longer just survival. It was possibility. By the time the twin moons reached their highest point, Lyra had created a small device that could turn basic scraps into edible, nutritious food. She tasted it cautiously, and for the first time, she felt real satisfaction in her stomach, not just relief. Her heart swelled with gratitude, not only for the sustenance but for the promise of a life that could be more than hunger and struggle. Ethan smiled as he watched her, proud but quietly thoughtful. He knew this was only the beginning. Lyra had potential, more than any human he had met, more than most aliens on the planet. With guidance, she could change her world. She could transform the wasteland into a place of opportunity, not despair. Lyra felt something she had never felt before: hope. And with hope came a determination she had never known she possessed. She would not waste this chance. She would learn, she would build, she would survive, and one day, she would help others do the same. That night, Lyra lay on her woven mat, listening to the hum of her new device and feeling the vibrations of the world around her. For the first time, she dreamed not of surviving, but of thriving. She dreamed of treasures hidden in plain sight, of a future waiting to be built from what others discarded, and she knew deep in her heart that she was not alone. Ethan had shown her a new path, but it was Lyra who would walk it, step by step, into a brighter future. The next morning, Lyra woke to the soft hum of her new device. For the first time, she had slept without hunger gnawing at her stomach. The cold metal of her shelter felt different now, not harsh and unwelcoming, but a place of safety. She ran her fingers over the small panels of the food synthesizer Ethan had shown her, feeling the energy flow through it. It amazed her that such a tiny device could do so much. Lyra rose and stepped outside, letting the early light of the twin moon's fading glow brush her senses. The wasteland looked different now, not simply a desert of broken machines and discarded metal, but a place full of possibilities. Every pile of debris, every rusty fragment was a seed of potential. Her mind, once focused solely on survival, now raced with ideas. Ethan was already awake, sitting on a flat piece of metal, listening to the distant sounds of the planet waking up. He smiled when he saw Lyra emerging. "Morning," he said simply. "Morning," she replied, her fingers brushing against the devices in her bag. She felt a thrill of anticipation. "I found something yesterday," she said. "I want to see if it can do more." Ethan nodded. "Good. Let's explore." They began moving through the canyon together, Lyra guiding herself with the keen sensitivity of her fingers and feet, Ethan watching and occasionally guiding her when the terrain became too tricky. As they explored, Lyra began to recognize patterns in the metal piles. Some contained old energy cells, some were fragments of machines that could be repaired, some were completely useless. But even the useless ones could sometimes be repurposed. Lyra's excitement grew when she discovered a small, half-buried container. It hummed faintly under her touch, a rhythm that her hands could feel. Carefully, she opened it. Inside were several intact energy cells, a few sensors, and what seemed to be a communication device. Her fingers trembled. These were the kind of items that could change her life, and perhaps the lives of others on her planet. Ethan knelt beside her. "You see," he said, "these are treasures, not trash. With these we can build something new." Lyra felt a rush of pride. For the first time, she was not just surviving, she was discovering, learning, and creating. She realized she had been blind in more ways than one. She had been blind to potential, to possibility, to the hidden value in the world around her. Over the next few days, Lyra and Ethan worked tirelessly. They built simple machines from the scraps she collected, small water filters, devices that could extract energy from old cells, and rudimentary tools to help with digging and construction. Lyra learned quickly. Her hands moved with precision, guided by her heightened senses and her growing understanding of technology. Ethan was patient, teaching her step by step, explaining how to test components, how to repair circuits, and how to combine simple machines into more complex ones. As they worked, Lyra began to notice other aliens watching from a distance. At first they were wary. Many still considered her weak because of her blindness, and they did not trust humans. But they could not ignore the change in her. She moved with confidence. Her shelter was stronger and she had food that never ran out. Slowly, curiosity overcame suspicion. A few approached cautiously, asking questions, watching her carefully. Lyra welcomed them. She showed them how to repurpose scraps, how to use simple devices to make life easier. They were amazed. The alien community, once struggling and fearful, began to take notice. They began bringing her their own collections of discarded metal, asking for guidance, seeking her advice. Lyra, who had once been alone and overlooked, became a teacher, a leader, and a symbol of hope. One day, while exploring a canyon further from her shelter, Lyra discovered something extraordinary. Beneath layers of rubble, she felt a large, smooth surface. Carefully, she brushed away the debris, revealing a hidden chamber filled with old alien technology. Energy cells, communication devices, and machines she had never seen before lined the walls. Her fingers traced the contours, sensing the potential within each piece. Ethan arrived shortly after, following her faint vibrations. When he saw the chamber, his eyes widened. This is incredible," he said. "These devices could power the entire community, even the whole region. We found something no one else thought existed." Lyra's heart raced. The chamber was not just a treasure, it was a promise. A promise that she could help her people thrive, not just survive. She felt a surge of purpose she had never known. She would use these tools to transform her world, to give others the chance she had only just discovered. They spent days cataloging the devices, testing each one, and figuring out how to use them. Lyra's hands moved confidently over circuits and panels, her fingers sensing the energy flow and guiding the repairs. With Ethan's guidance, they activated several devices, a generator that could power multiple shelters, a water purifier that could turn even the dirtiest water into safe drinking water, and a communication device that could reach other parts of the planet. Word of Lyra's discovery spread quickly. More aliens came to see her, bringing their own scraps eager to learn. Lyra taught them patiently, showing them how to recognize valuable components, how to repair machines, and how to use devices to improve their lives. For the first time, the planet felt like a community, not a wasteland. Lyra's transformation was not just physical but emotional. She felt pride, purpose, and hope. She had discovered the value of the world around her, the treasures hidden in plain sight. She had learned to see without eyes, to understand the world through touch, sound, and intuition, and she had learned that she could make a difference, not just for herself but for everyone around her. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Lyra stood outside her shelter, feeling the vibrations of the world. She reached out with her hands, touching the devices she had repaired, feeling the energy flow through them. Ethan stood beside her, silent but supportive. "You've changed everything," he said softly, "not just for yourself but for everyone here. You've shown them how to see treasure where others saw only trash." Lyra smiled. She could not see him, but she felt the warmth in his presence. "I couldn't have done it alone," she said. "You showed me a new way to live. You showed me that the world is full of possibilities." Ethan nodded. "You discovered it yourself, Lyra. I only guided you. The strength, the courage, that's all yours." Lyra looked toward the horizon, sensing the distant outlines of her people moving among the ruins. She felt a surge of determination. This was only the beginning. There were more treasures to find, more devices to repair, more lives to improve. She would continue to explore, to teach, and to build. In the days that followed, the community began to flourish. Shelters became sturdier, food became abundant, and clean water was no longer a luxury. The aliens, once struggling to survive, now had hope. They had learned to see value in what they had once discarded, to build from scraps, to create a better life. And at the center of it all was Lyra, the blind girl who had once scavenged for scraps but now guided them toward a brighter future. One afternoon, as Lyra explored another canyon with Ethan, she felt something unusual beneath her fingers. A small, smooth object buried in dirt and metal. She carefully unearthed it and realized it was a device unlike any they had found before. Its surface hummed with energy, and its design was elegant, almost artistic. She held it reverently, sensing its potential. Ethan knelt beside her. "This is remarkable," he said. "It could be a key to even greater technology. Imagine what you could do with it." Lyra felt a thrill of excitement. She realized that the world was full of hidden treasures, waiting for someone to discover them, and she had the ability, the knowledge, and the courage to find them. Her blindness no longer mattered. She could see in ways others could not, sensing energy, understanding patterns, and perceiving the hidden value in everything around her. That evening, Lyra returned to her shelter, carrying the new device carefully. She placed it on her workbench and began examining it, her fingers tracing its contours and sensing the energy flowing through it. For the first time, she felt truly powerful, not because of strength or sight, but because of understanding and determination. She had learned to see the world in a way no one else could. As she worked, Ethan watched her quietly, proud and admiring. He had seen many explorers and survivors, but Lyra was different. She had transformed not only herself but an entire community. She had shown that strength, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the harshest conditions. She had turned a world of trash into a world of treasure. Lyra paused and lifted her hands, feeling the energy of the device flowing into her fingers. She imagined the possibilities: more food, better shelters, clean water, communication across the planet, and perhaps one day, even travel beyond it. Her mind raced with ideas, each one more ambitious than the last. She smiled, a small, quiet smile that spoke of hope, courage, and determination. For the first time, she truly believed in herself. She had been blind, but now she could see, not with her eyes, but with her mind, her heart, and her hands. And that vision would guide her and her people into a brighter future. The planet, once a desolate wasteland, now thrummed with potential. And at its center was Lyra, the blind alien girl who had once scavenged for food but now collected treasure, not just for herself but for everyone around her. She had discovered the true power of vision, the ability to